Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is Character Vault, a series where I go through the entire process of creating a character from start to finish, and today we're going to be taking a look at Vaesen by Free League Publishing. Now, if you haven't heard, Vaesen is Nordic horror role-playing, kind of like Call of Cthulhu in a way, but it uses the Year Zero engine. So let's pop this bad boy open and get started. Chapter 2 is where you're going to want to turn to if you want to create a character. It's got pretty much everything that you need. And in fact, I would rate the complexity of creating a character in Vaesen in pretty much any Year Zero engine game as being easy complexity. In fact, a lot of the information that you're going to need is going to be on the page with your selected archetype. So what are the steps to creating a character? Well, there's about 12 of them. We have choose your archetype. You're going to choose your age, which actually has mechanical benefits to that. You're going to choose a name. Then you're going to distribute attribute points according to your age and distribute points to skills and resources according to your age. You're going to choose a talent, choose a motivation, choose a trauma, choose a dark secret, choose your relationship with each of the other PCs, roll for mementos, and then choose your equipment. So your archetype is primarily going to be what class you take. So what are the different classes? Well, we have the academic, we have the doctor, the hunter, the occultist, the officer, the priest, the private detective, the servant, the vagabond, and the rider. For this video, we're going to be choosing the officer. So what do we get by being an officer? Or by selecting any of these archetypes for that matter? We get some sample names, which I always think is funny that they would include that, and they're different from each career or archetype. We have some sample motivations, sample trauma, sample dark secrets, some sample relationships, but the main thing that we're going to focus on is the main attribute, the main skill, the 3 talents that we can choose from, the resources, and the equipment that we can also start with. But before we get into that, we do need to choose our age. Now, our age is categorized into 3 different groups. We can be young, which is from 17 to 25 years old. We can be middle age, which is 26 to 50 years old. Or we can be old, which is 51 years and older. Now, each of these different groups will have different starting attributes and starting skill points. For example, young is going to give you 15 attribute points, but only 10 skill points. Middle age will give us 14 attribute points and only 12 skill points, while being old will give you 13 attribute points and 14 skill points. Our character is going to be 52 years old, so that means we're going to be old, meaning we also start with 13 attribute points and 14 skill points. By the way, the name of my character is going to be John Wilson. So if you've ever played any of the Free League's Year Zero engine games, then you're gonna be quite familiar with the attributes. We have 4 attributes in the entire game. We have physique, precision, logic, and empathy. The terms are a little bit different here in Vaesen, but they pretty much do the same thing. Physique is a measure of how big and strong you are, where precision is a measure of your coordination and motor skills. Logic is your intellectual capacity, and empathy represents your ability to understand other people. So we are going to distribute 13 points between those 4 attributes. Now the thing is, each attribute can have a minimum of 2 points allocated to it. So you can't actually start with 1 point in physique or anything like that. You do need at least 2 points in an attribute. And the most that you can go up to an attribute is 4, except for the main attribute for your chosen archetype, which can have a maximum of 5. So for physique, since we're an old guy, I think it's pretty fitting that we would keep that as a 2. For precision, since that's our main attribute for our archetype, we're going to bump that up to 5. Logic and empathy, I'm going to keep fairly average, being at 3 each, which will give us a total of 13. Skills are going to be where things differentiate itself from the other Free League games, mainly because of the setting. We have 3 skills for each of the 4 attributes, so 12 altogether. Physique has access to agility, close combat, and force. Precision has access to medicine, ranged combat, and stealth. Logic has investigation, learning, and vigilance, while empathy has inspiration, manipulation, and observation. We have 14 points due to our age to allocate to all of our skills. Now we can still use a skill if it's at 0. We would just use the attributes instead of combined attributes plus skills, since skills will be 0. So if I had agility 0 but physique 3, I would only roll 3 dice. So going down the list, I'm going to keep agility at 0. I don't really think that an old guy such as John Wilson is going to be very agile. His close combat will be 1, his force will be 1, and his medicine will be at 1. Since ranged combat is his key skill, we can actually put a 3 in there, and that's what I'm going to do. The maximum value that you can have in any skill that isn't your key skill is 2, by the way. Our stealth is going to be 1, our investigation will be 2, learning will be 0, vigilance will be 2, inspiration will be 1, manipulation will be 0, and observation will be 2. And these are just skills that I think would benefit or that John Wilson would have learned over his long years. Now on the page with your archetype, there are 3 talents that you can choose from. You start off with 1 talent at character creation, and the talents that the officer has access to are battle-hardened, gentleman, and tactician. So let's go over and see what each of those do. Now each of the archetypes has different talents, by the way, so there's no overlapping there. The officer has battle-hardened, so you are used to battle. When drawing for initiative, draw 2 cards and pick one of them. There's gentleman. You are raised to control your emotions and behavior in social situations, even under pressure. Ignore penalties from mental conditions when making manipulation tests. And last we have tactician. When you pass a ranged combat test during combat and get extra successes, you may, in addition to the usual alternatives, issue an order to a friend. Doing so costs 1 success. If she follows your order, she gains +2 on her next test. This can be chosen multiple times to give orders to different people, by the way. We are going to choose Battle Hardened because I think initiative is going to be very important in a game like this. Even though combat might be few and far between, I still think initiative, especially for my purposes as a solo game, would be very beneficial. Next, we have to choose a motivation. And each of the different archetypes has a list of 3 sample motivations to choose from. I'm not going to choose any of those. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and write my own. And John's motivation is to protect those who need protecting. I think that definitely befits somebody who served in the military. Next, we get to choose a trauma. This is the event that sets your character up for receiving the sight, which is the ability to perceive Vaesen. John's trauma actually happens in a war with West Africa where he was serving. He actually saw some dead warriors rise on the battlefield, and he was 18 when that happened. And actually, I think I took that straight up from the sample traumas here. Kind of seemed to work well, so I went ahead and took that one. Next, we get to choose a dark secret. A dark secret is something that your GM can actually pull from to make things a little bit interesting. And I've actually got a few different ones here. Things that I've just come up with on my own that I think would be really interesting to pull into my own game. First, John is an orphan. I mean, not something that you would want to go around announcing, especially when you're a well-decorated soldier such as he. Second, during the war, which resulted in his trauma, he actually turned tail and ran away. You would probably call that being a coward. As the undead around him became inert, he was discovered, and as being the only survival, he was credited with the defense and was promoted for it. So that something like that could definitely ruin his reputation if it ever got out. Now, next on our list is to create or choose a relationship with each of the other PCs. Now, this is going to be a solo game, but I'm not actually going to have just one character. I'm actually going to have 2 characters, so I am going to choose a relationship. Because you see, John Wilson is actually going to be a mentor to the other character that I'll be, well, not really playing with, but that will interact with him, and her name is Elizabeth. Mementos make a return in this game, and they're actually pretty much in every Free League game that I've noticed. And you do get to roll for this one if you want, or you can choose. I didn't actually roll for this one because it just kind of really makes sense that a well-decorated officer would have a war medal, and that's going to be his memento. A reminder of that trauma that he experienced long ago and the hardships that he's had to go through over the years. Last but not least, we get to choose our equipment. Now, each of the different archetypes has different equipment that you can choose from. For example, the officer has a rifle or a pistol. We're going to take the pistol. We can also choose a compass or a bayonet. We're going to choose the compass. And he has access to a map book or a saber. We're actually going to take the map book here. So we have a pistol, a compass, and a map book. And really, that's all there is to creating a character for Vaesen, so let's take a look at the finished character sheet. Here we have our finished character sheet. Our name is John Wilson. We are 52 years old, and he is part of the old age group, by the way. He is an officer, or is the archetype of officer. His motivation is to protect those who need protecting. His trauma was that he saw dead warriors rise on the battlefield when he served in the military when he was 18 years old. His dark secret is being an orphan and a coward on the battlefield. His relationships include Alice, who is his student in a way, so he is a mentor to Alice. For attributes, we have a 2 in physique, a 5 in precision, a 3 in logic, and a 3 in empathy. We have 4 resources. This is kind of how wealthy we are. And we had a range, I think, from 2 or 3 to 5, and I definitely didn't want to go as high as 5, so I went ahead and settled with 4. Even though he's kind of going to be wandering around the country, he still has a home that he can go back to. And in my game, it's kind of a little bit different than the way that the campaign sets it up. There really isn't a headquarters, at least to start with. He'll discover what happened along the way. These are for your conditions. So instead of HP or health, you have conditions. You have 3 physical conditions and 3 mental conditions. And once those are all marked out and you would receive a 4th one, you become broken, where you receive a critical injury. Either a physical critical injury or mental critical injury, which is really cool. Do like that, but not the whole process behind that. For skills, we have a 0 in agility, a 1 in close combat, a 1 in force, a 1 in medicine, a 3 in ranged combat, a 1 in stealth, a 2 in investigation, 0 in learning, 2 in vigilance, 1 in inspiration, 0 in manipulation, and 2 in observation. For talents, we have battle hardened, so that allows us to draw 2 initiative cards and choose whichever one we want. We don't have any insights and defects because we haven't really started playing, but essentially, as you play, if you get a critical injury, you can get a defect or an insight, and at the end of the mystery, you roll to see if that becomes permanent. Our advantage is specific to the mystery, but I kind of have this permanent advantage, so to speak, that's kind of going to set up my campaign. I'm going to have a secret benefactor who kind of helps John out along the way. And since I'm playing this solo with, I guess, a student, so to speak, I think that having that secret benefactor who can kind of come in and save the day at times makes a little bit of sense. For our equipment, we're going to have a pistol, a compass, and a map book. The pistol deals 2 damage and has a range of 0 to 1. So we can actually use it if the opponent is right up close to us or a near range, and it gives us a +2 bonus. And our memento is the war medal. Overall, I really do like this character sheet because it has everything you need on one page. It's not even double-sided, it's just straight up one page. So good on them for keeping things nice and simple. And that's actually going to do it for this video. Nice, easy character creation system. I can pretty much say that to all of the Free League games. There really isn't a whole lot of complexity to them, so they're really easy to just pick up and play, which I appreciate a lot. And that's going to do it for this video, so feel free to leave a comment down below, give this video a huge thumbs up to support the series, and subscribe if you would like to see more. I will see you guys in the next video.